Hello and welcome back. I have been called to do this video once again to address something, right? Like there's a shift. There's always shifts happening in my life and in the universe. This is not my first time doing a video on the Matrix and the unending necessity to unplug from the matrix. And I keep coming back around to this. It's like no matter which direction I go in life, and I go many different directions, I find myself coming back around to unplugging from the matrix. And you would have thought, like, by now, at least I would have thought by now, that I would be completely unplugged. Granted, for the most part, and this is just like my personality, it's always been this way where I am usually kind of socially recluse, like to myself. That's something that has always been a part of my nature. Right? That's just who I am. That's my personality. That's what I feel most comfortable with, being alone by myself. And I think that is a reflection of my knowingness, right? My awareness, my consciousness of my environment, my attunement to nature, and my understanding of what's happening in our society, right? So when I speak of the necessity to unplug from the matrix, I speak from a very genuine, unapologetic place in my mind, through my heart. And I was actually prompted to do this video from a conversation, very brief conversation I had today at the hospital where I work. And it irks me, like I hate to be irked, but then for me, I'm an alchemist, so I turn everything into something positive anyway. And I take lessons from my own emotions and experiences and feelings. And I found myself today in self-reflection, right? And observing myself in my current state and just reminding me, like, Danielle, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you still working a 9 to 5? And then there are days where I will wake up begrudgingly, and no one should wake up begrudgingly, right? Like, life is a gift. It's precious, it's sacred, and we don't know when we're going to take our last breath. Life is short. So no one should wake up begrudgingly. And I feel like that's a telltale sign that it's time to unplug from the matrix, number one, if you wake up begrudgingly. And the reason why I sometimes wake up in that state is because I'm immediately reminded what is to come, right? I'm immediately reminded that I'm attached to this entity that expects me to show up for a certain period of time in a certain way that is not really in alignment with who I am, my values, my morals, what I stand for, and just my overall belief system is not in alignment with that. And so anytime I think we do something that is opposed or goes against our inherent belief system, our value system, like we, first of all, live in a contradiction, and we're not doing justice to ourselves. We are betraying ourselves. And that is not good, yo. And it's just like, I can take you guys back to when I took like one of my first jobs. I think I was like 16 years old. Prior to that, like I was doing like kind of working for myself, right? Self-employed. One of my first jobs was babysitting family members, nieces, nephews, and then I started braiding hair, right? So I was actually making a living in grade school braiding hair. And through that, like I was taught a very invaluable lesson, and that was reinforced with my father, who always told me like the importance of self-sufficiency and just being self-sustainable, doing things for yourself, working for yourself, earning your own living independent of any entity or system, right? Because I saw my dad model that. He owned his own business, right? He had customers galore, working in electronics, and it was a home-based business. And I saw him earn a decent living through that. And so for me, that was a template. Like my dad set the template for what I will then aspire to become, right? And it was implanted in me. And I remember I was living with my father. I was 16 years old. I was a junior in high school, and it came around to a point where like I was braiding hair left and right. Like I had customers, right? And I chose to braid hair in my father's house, right? And then granted, like he definitely promoted me to be, self-sufficient, independent, but he also was like, wait a minute, you bringing these strangers in my house? And there was a salon across the street. So he had then encouraged me, because he would come home and it would be like hair on the floor. And he's just like, I can't have this in my house. It just irked his nerve. And I can see why looking back now. So he was like, there's a salon across the street. Like, why don't you go over there and just rent a booth? Right. And this is like when I'm like a junior in high school. And I did go over there. I inquired about their fees, but I'm just like, do I really want to do that? And I decided to take a job at fucking McDonald's. And I've told this story before where they hired me as a cashier, but like, was it my first day or second day? I just had started, and they were asking me to like sweep and mop the floor, right? And like not just asking, but like demanding, like, listen, this is your job. And I felt like, yo, this kind of sets me in the period of the framework of slavery. And it, oh my gosh, it just got underneath my skin. I don't understand. I don't see how people do it. I think for the most part, a lot of people just are conditioned. It's just in their DNA to just be subservient, to be slaves, to be an employee and work a 9 to 5. But even at a very young age, at 16 years old, like I knew this shit is not for me, right? So when the manager at McDonald's, when I was 16 years old, told me to mop the floor, I'm like, nah. I left the job. Of course, I finished the work day, right? But then I went home. I'm thinking, like, damn. And especially, and this is what it really hit. I got my first paycheck, and I'm looking at the fucking paycheck, the hourly wage at the time. It was minimum wage, $5.50 per hour, and I'm looking at the amount that I made each day, and then, per week, per 2 weeks. I'm like, yo, the amount that I was making in a 2 weeks period, I could make that in one day braiding hair. I was making that. I'm like, why did I even take this job? So of course I quit. Of course I quit. I'm just like, this is not for me. I don't even know if I made it a full 2 weeks, but it was very short lived. I'm like, this is not for me. I knew back then at the age of 16 that I cannot work, and I do not want to work for anyone. And so then a seed had been planted, right? And so then, of course, I mosey on through life, become a young adult, and post bachelor's degree at the age of 22. I took my first full-time job in the field of mental health as a residential counselor. Long story short, I worked there for like a little over a year. So I made it the year mark. And once again, I encountered this interaction with the people at the job. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. I saved that for my autobiography, my book. There's much to be told and revealed and uncovered in my autobiography. But I do talk about like those experiences there. And I just feel like just the culture of many workplaces is so toxic, right? And it's the reason why they have these hostile work environment reporting forms and, harassment trainings and reporting forms, in case you encounter harassment. It's just like, why, right? Why subject yourself to that? And of course, as a woman, as pretty much the only woman on my team at the time as a residential counselor working at this psychiatric facility that I was working with youth there, and this was at the age of 22 years old. I'm like the only woman, young at that, the youngest and the only woman working amongst men who are older than me. And of course, right, they take attraction to me. And then is the blackmailing and the constant harassment, right? So I pretty much end up leaving that. I parted ways from that organization. Not only that, like I suffered a great deal because this is back in Florida, where if you're a black person, especially during that time, even holding a bachelor's degree with honors, right, in psychology, it's like I felt pigeonholed. Not even I felt shit, I was, right? I felt like I was fucking blacklisted and was not able to secure employment. And through that, it definitely negatively impacted my life experience and my quality of life at the time. I was going through a whole struggle phase. And through that phase, when I was like at rock bottom, even having like, and at the same time in a master's degree program, right, working on a master's degree to become a licensed professional counselor. And I'm young, like I said, 22, 23 years old at this time. And I'm just like, what the entire hell? Is this the American dream? So that's a little hint, little segue into my biography for those who really truly follow me. It will begin to kind of make sense why I titled my story American Dreamer. But I began to question, like, is this the American dream? And growing up, they tell you, oh, just go to school. That was the narrative, right? Go to school. I don't know what they tell kids nowadays, especially with the advent of social media, and they have all of these technological advances now, and people can make money just sitting behind a computer screen. But when I was going through school, the message was go to school, go to college, essentially, right? And then you can get a good job, a good career, and blah, blah, blah. And I learned at a very young age in my 20s, like, this is not it. And someone made a promise to myself, like, I will never, absolutely ever put my life, my survival into anyone else's hands. Because then you risk the chance of hitting rock bottom, right? And one may say, oh, well, it's your life, it's your responsibility, right? You can't blame anyone but yourself. But when you work, when you become an employee, it's like you are essentially a slave. Many people, many enthusiasts who embrace freedom, right? And this is not even specific to any one particular race, but there are people, entrepreneurs who are very intelligent, highly successful, right? Who know what time it is and have stepped away from the matrix or the system or the grasp of a 9 to 5. I've written books and done workshops and lectures like on, break away from this, and have given many, many warnings, right? And so when I went through what I went through, it was just like another reminder, even in my 20s, my early 20s, like I should never put my life in someone else's hand. And that's what you're essentially doing. You're taking a huge risk. And of course, yes, you can work and save money just in case, right? Things happen, but it shapes, I think, who you are. And I'm seeing that happen for myself. And so here I am now with a PhD, right? I'm licensed as a psychologist. And I remember even going through my PhD program, I kept kind of reminding myself, like, okay, this is just somewhat a means to an end. This is just one of my goals. This is not the end goal, but this is just a route to achieve just one of my goals, right? And building my credibility and building my brand and just achieving the highest honor in my chosen field of psychology, right? And mental health. Something I always kind of aspired to do. But in the back of my mind, I always said, like, get your degree and that's it. Get licensed, of course, right? And part of the licensure is, you have a supervisor, right? You have a licensed psychologist who is supervising your clinical experience. But I've passed that mark. And so here I am now, almost 1 year as a licensed psychologist. I really do not need to have a supervisor. I don't need to answer to anyone. I never liked that idea anyway, right? Because I feel like, number one, we're all human beings. I consider myself a spiritual being, though. I'm a conscious being, very wise, very intelligent. And even as a child, my parents had trouble with me. Like, they had trouble with me because I was just a free-spirited person. I questioned everything. And I just moved about through life to the beat of my own drum. I never sought to conform. And I think that naturally, most people, especially in this society that we live in, just are wired to seek acceptance and approval and wanting to fit in, right? You can see that common thread amongst most people in this American society. But for me, I'm just one of those people where I don't desire that. I never have desired that. In fact, I abhor it. Like, it irks me. And so here I am working at a hospital. And granted, I love the work I do, working directly with patients. Like, that is my passion. But I'm trying to figure out, like, how can I do this without having to answer to anyone? I mean, I can communicate. I'm a very effective communicator. But in terms of the whole power dynamic where someone feels like they own me and can control and dictate what I do, how I do it, and I cannot do that. And one may say, oh, well, you work for an organization, so you have to play by their rules because it's not your company, right? It's someone else's organization, it's their company. So there's a hierarchy and blah, blah, blah. Like, damn, all of that shit. That's just the space that I am in. And I always am going to be this way. So it's just like, how can a person with like myself, with my personality, my worldview, my perspective, my belief system, which is not going to change. Like, how do I even fit in? I cannot. It's not going to work. And like I said, I'm making this video in response to this conversation where, okay, I work on a team, right? I'm the psychologist on my team. And within my treatment team, there's a psychiatrist, There's social workers, nurse, medical specialist, and a treatment team leader, right? What kind of, it kind of irks me in a way, even irked me at the other hospital where I work, that within the state system, like, and in this context, right, within my treatment team, like usually the treatment team leader is lesser credentialed, right? I mean, not to listen, I hate to toot my own horn, but it's just like, yo, I put in work to get to where I am to achieve the status and the honor that I have as a doctor. Right? So yes, it does rub me a particular way when a person who is lesser credentialed than I am is trying to tell me what the fuck to do, right? Or want me to answer to you. So this happened to me today where this person comes up to me and is like, oh, I just want to check in to see if everything's okay. Because, you called out and I don't know if you knew about. And she said something, it's like, this is how my brain works. And I can't even help it, yo. My brain works, and this is like in a kind of subconscious, self-protective way. But my brain immediately just kind of shut down. That's why I don't even remember what the fuck program she said. But she was like, if there is like a chronic issue where you need to take off time, I just want to let you know I forget what the fuck she said, medical something, or I don't know, leave. I don't know what the fuck it was. My brain just kind of completely just shut her off in that point. Like she was talking, but I didn't hear what was coming out. And then she was like, you can, contact HR. And I was just like, no. But she said as if, okay, is there something wrong? Like, yo, I took time off for myself and I've made it known, even at my previous fucking place I work, if I take days off, first of all, we got the right to take days off. And I've heard her say this before in our treatment team meetings that, yo, she's not a kind of TTL that be getting on people about taking time off. If a motherfucker, listen, the nature of the work, I can't even fucking complete the sentence because I'm just so annoyed and deep breath in you. But the nature of our work, working with severely mentally ill people, psychotically dangerous people, yo, you have the audacity to ask me about if I'm a motherfucking gay for taking time off. If anything, y'all should be encouraging motherfuckers to take time off. And I'll be looking at their ass in the treatment team being like, yo, your motherfucking ass need to take some time off because you look like you past burnout. And it's clear. And I don't want to be like those people. Even when I started at the other hospital, after I completed my PhD, and I remember when I first started there, I'm looking at the faces of the staff and just hearing the complaints and people just not seeming as if they are satisfied with their actual jobs. I'm just like, how are you even in this field if you don't like the work? And I wouldn't say maybe they started out that way, they don't like the work. I think it's just the nature of the environment, the context in which we work, this whole system, where it's almost as if people are forced to do these tasks, and people who are in so-called positions of power abuse their power. You can make a motherfucker not want to come into work. Do not ever ask me, is there something wrong because I decided to take a day off? And I feel like, why am I even explaining why I chose to take a day off? But that's just me because I'm just a verbal person, right? And so I'm telling her like, yo, I need fucking rest. And I want to take a day off or two. Like, why does it even matter? If I show up, if it'd be different if it's negatively impacting my performance, right? Where my documentation is late or I'm not able to effectively, work with the patients or treat the patients. That is not the case at all, right? So it's like, so what if I miss a day or two here or there? Why is that even a concern of you? But the fact that it is, and the fact that this has happened, Like, I am so annoyed past 10, to the point where I'm just like, okay, I think this is a sign. Not only that, but this week I returned, because took off on Monday. I returned to work on Tuesday and noticed that my pictures at my desk of myself and my family were mysteriously missing. Now, of course, I'm not making a big deal about it, because I can easily replace the pictures, right? It's not even about that, but it's just like, who so petty to come to my desk, my office space, and remove something of sentimental value that has nothing to do with y'all motherfuckers, but a sentimental value to me, and they're missing. Right now, of course, I mention it, but I'm just like, okay, I take everything into account, and I'm just like, maybe this is a sign. Maybe this is a sign from the universe. Listen, to start packing up your shit. And I had already started to think about that too, because I'm just like, I don't want to get comfortable and become complacent in this job. And granted, it pays well. Don't get me fucking wrong. Working for the state is like one of the highest paid positions as a psychologist, aside from federal, But I'm like, I can't. It's like everything within me is saying no. I think the redemption is when I see the faces of the patients, right? And my relationship that I have with them, because that is undeniable. I receive recognition within not even a month of being there about my ability to have established rapport with the patient so quickly and easily. I can do that in my sleep. That comes very natural to me. And that is the essential characteristic to be able to effect change within clients and patients, is predicated on one's ability to build that relationship, build that rapport, build that working relationship, right? With your client or patient. And I do that with my eyes closed. It just comes very natural, very seamlessly. And so they recognize that. But that to me is like what's keeping me there. That's the only thing that really keeps me, aside from, of course, great pay. But I know that I can make more money because I'm business minded. I can make more money. If you break down the hourly wage, you make more money independent. So I've said this before in conversation with one of my other colleagues at the other hospital where I work. She's a social worker. Me and her had these conversations all the time about stepping away and just stepping out on faith, right? And knowing that, you can do this independently. You look at, okay, what are you making a day? Break down your salary. What do you bring home per day? You mean tell me you can't make that independently, selling products, selling services? I know I can. I do it, and I have done it. I'm doing it now. So what is keeping you there, right? What is the attachment? It's just like, I think that this is what it is. This is where people fuck up. The longer, and every single day counts, right? The longer you stay in any toxic fucking situation, relationship, whether it be personal, professional, sometimes it's the harder it is to get out. When you know, like, nah, this is not for you, ain't it, this not it, go ahead and pull out. It's like the longer you stay, right? But I feel like also that's where I think a lot of people get misguided, because no one really, they say they knew that I was going to leave the other place where I work, but I don't think they truly were convicted and knew that I was going to leave until I did. And they just like, oh, you're leaving? Like it was a surprise. And the same thing I think is going to happen when I leave this current job. And the question is, should I leave and go get in a whole nother same situation? Go to another job. Same shit. How can it be different? The only way it can be different is if people leave me the fuck alone and just entrust. Like if you're hiring me to do a particular job, right, that has certain job duties attached, let me fucking do what the fuck I need to do. As if I am a private contractor coming in and doing the job. I prefer that. I don't need a motherfucker micromanaging me. Like even where I currently work, the chief psychologist be popping up in my motherfucking desk. Like, get the hell out. I don't want to see your face. Why? Because I feel like that's what's driving this person is them operating from their own insecurities. Don't bring that insecure shit over here. Trying to micromanage and wonder if this and that. Like, no, you don't have to do that. It's unnecessary. And to me, that is not conducive for me to be productive, effective, and for me to even want to commit and stay. Granted, we have agreed, like we kind of discussed, right? And I said that I'm willing to become a supervisor, which that hasn't been something that I've done before necessarily, right? To take on students, interns. Right now, I am a co-supervisor, co-leader of group supervision for the psychiatry residents there, and I also have agreed to take on a psychology extern. But listen, all that shit can be reversed because number one, if it's time for me to get the fuck out somewhere, like that's what I'm gonna do. I'm leaving because I feel like it's not serving me. How is it not serving me? Because like I said when I started this video, like if you are doing something that is not aligned with your belief system, and it's just not. I feel like there are healthy work environments and then there are toxic ones. There are jobs that the employees actually love going to work, right? They feel like that they have a sense of autonomy over their particular job duties, their role, right, in the company or the organization. Just have a little bit of like more independence. And even though, yes, they may work amongst other people to effectively bring about the mission, the ultimate goal of the company organization, like them within their independent role are able to just have a sense of autonomy. And I feel like if I don't feel like that, if I feel like I am being micromanaged or overly controlled, and you want to ask me like about that after I take days off, even if I call in, so fucking what? You questioning me, oh, you everything okay? Like, how is it that you are concerned that something is wrong because I take a day or two off? That, like I said, should be encouraged. There's nothing wrong with unplugging from the matrix. And having said that, given that this is not my first video and talking about unplugging from the matrix, it's going to be time, yo. I think this is what's going to happen. It's going to happen very soon. It's going to happen very soon where I'm just going to, like, literally. And I know for some people it may not make any sense at all. They're like, just why? Why would you invest all these years into getting your degrees and going to school and blah, 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 everything that it took for me to get to this point, and to kind of just really literally walk away from it? Because that's kind of what's going to happen. Not really, though, because I'm still going to be like practicing within my profession, but I'm going to be doing other things too. You know, for me, like I said, I'm a free-spirited person, and I don't feel like I need to be bound to any particular job by any particular. I feel like if I want to not go to work, then I'm not going to go to work. Right? And it's not about, I feel like my life should not be centered around, going to work. It should be centered around what is my purpose in life. Like, am I fulfilling my purpose? And therein lies the issue. Because when you work in a 9 to 5, you're really not fulfilling your purpose. You're fulfilling someone else's dream. You're a part of a greater scheme of what someone else wants to do, what their dream is. It's not about you living out your dreams. That's not my dream, to work for somebody else. It's somewhat in alignment with, obviously, my passion and helping people and serving people and treating patients, right? That's part of it. But in the grand scheme of my dream, no. That's the issue. And for those who are listening right now to this video, you came to this video for a reason. And you have to ask yourself, like, are you in alignment with what you are called to do, what you were born to do, with your life's mission, with your purpose? I look at the faces, even like on my way to work, because I take public transportation, right? I live in New York City, I live in Manhattan. So I take the subway. And I'm an observer, so I look at people's faces and just feel their energy. And it's just like most people, majority, I have to say, over 90% of people are not happy. And I feel like, damn, I'm kind of along with them. We all in the same fucking boat. On a train, headed to a job. I ain't gonna say I hate it, but many different aspects of it that I've already talked about that it don't sit well with me. It just doesn't. I am a born leader, and I feel like we reduce ourselves to something very small when we settle for these jobs, these 9-to-5 jobs that don't allow us to exercise and express and showcase our full potential. It just doesn't. If anything, it's penalized because they look at you like, oh, well, you're doing too much, right? Even the way I do my documentation, the way I write my progress notes, oh, it's too detailed. How the fuck is it too detailed? I'm providing information, valuable data relating to the patient, what they presented with in their progress. Like, that's my style, right? But even being criticized on that is like I feel like, okay, I'm not valued, and you want me to acquiesce to a template and really become a robot. And I'm not that. I'm a unique individual, and I'm going to shine anywhere I go. And if I feel like, no, they want robots, just hire a fucking robot. If you have very specific guidelines, right, that you need everybody who is employed there to follow, just hire fucking robots. Otherwise, if you hiring a psychologist, let me do how I do it. I remember when I was doing a practicum rotation at this counseling center in LA, and my supervisor gave me an unfavorable evaluation that was sent to my school. And she's going to say, oh, well, Danielle, she just do what she want to do. No, it's not that okay, I do what I want to do. I do have a mind of my own that I can stand 10 toes down on. Right? And I will let it be known if I have a difference of opinion. Whether we in group supervision, individual supervision, like I speak up and I express myself, right? Though I have been penalized a great deal for doing so. And so sometimes it have me dial back. But even when I dial back, like I don't feel like I'm being my authentic self. Okay, I'm just being quiet or agreeing with what somebody want me to say because it makes them feel good, right? It doesn't ruffle their feathers, right? And now you're walking on eggshells, tiptoeing around someone else's insecurities. Damn that, yo. And I feel like that is what's happening again where I work, even in my supervision meetings. First of all, the fucking chief psychologist there, she's like, oh, well, we need to schedule weekly supervisions. First of all, this was not something that was established when I first started working. I started there in November. We're in fucking March, and all of a sudden you want to create a standing supervision time meeting? No. I feel like the supervision is more beneficial to her than it is to me. I don't need supervision. I am licensed. What is there to talk about? But she's trying to find shit to talk about. So here I am sitting across from her, And ain't nothing, like, I feel it's unproductive. You're wasting 1 hour of my day, of my schedule, of my life. What really is going to have to happen? They're going to have to just find someone else to do the job. That's just what it's going to boil down to. Because there's somebody I know that will fit the description of the employee that they're looking for, right? But I am not that. My mind is just too expansive, too creative, just too independent to fit within their paradigm. And y'all will see. You will see. And I feel like sometimes we as people, we put our abilities and we suffocate our talents, our gifts. Like we choke the life out of it. Meanwhile, what's inside of us is just begging to come out and to shine. It's just like y'all will see why a 9 to 5 was just beneath me. It is. For some people, it's good for them. That's what they need. They need someone telling them what to do. But I am not, and I've never been that. But if anything, I am the fucking CEO. I am the boss. And it's not that I want to, I have to be the boss, right? It's not even about the title, the label of it. It's just about what I am capable of doing, right? And you've seen like students, right, who just are very intelligent, very high achieving, and you try to give them a task and it's too easy for them, right? It's no wonder why they suck at it, because it just doesn't fit their capabilities, right? You got to give them something that is more at their level, and I feel like that's what I need. I am my own CEO. We all are, really, of our own lives. And that's just the space I'm in. And I just reflect back on a time when I wasn't working a 9 to 5, where I feel like I was happier then. Self-employed or unemployed, as one may call it. But really, just getting it how I get it. Not having to show up to anyone's job. I wake up and I let my day unfold as it may. And then inspiration may hit me here or there, right? Because I'm a creative. And I act on my inspiration and my creativity. That's the space I need to be in. And that's the space I'm about to go into. I almost am at the point where I'm like disappointed in myself because I remember when I was in that space of freedom, and I would tell never, ever take a 9 to 5. And I believe this so much. It was really so much ingrained in my belief system and who I am, to the point where I would teach. If you go to my, one of my business pages called UBAWA. It's an acronym, UBAWA, right? Now you got to go back some time, but you'll see, even in those posts, I will always promote just being an entrepreneur. It's better than working a 9 to 5. 9 to 5, who? 9 to 5, where? It's a trap. It's a gimmick. It's a scam, literally. I cannot. Another aspect is like I said, for me, I like to be by myself. I don't need nobody commenting on what I eat, asking me, what are you having for lunch? None of your business. I feel like, listen, if I'm at home and I'm my own boss, nobody has asked. First of all, I feel like, number one, you're crossing boundaries. You're not even privileged. This is how I see things. You're not even, what gives you the authority? What gives you, the confidence to even ask me, what the fuck am I eating? And I be trying to be nice, yo. I try, but I feel like it's fake. I can't do this shit for too much longer. I didn't want to say, Let me eat what the hell. Like, I feel like, why are we even having a conversation? I don't need to answer to no motherfucking body at all about anything. I just don't. I sit home and I'm making money on my own. I can do that shit full time, and I am going to do it full time. I make money, yes, in my sleep. I don't need a 9-to-5 job. Like, why am I doing this? Why won't I just go ahead and give them their 2 weeks notice? Point blank, period. Go ahead and put it in. And then I can truly be free and live free. I don't need anything from that job. I don't need people in my face commenting on what I wear, what I eat. Like, even, like I said, ever since I was a young child, yes, I grew up in a big family. So I'm the youngest of 5 sisters, 2 brothers in a combined family, right? Blended family. But I grew up in a household where it was my 2 older sisters and older brother, and my mom and my dad. And I'm the youngest, right? And I still had older siblings who had already moved out the house. And I always just would be alone. My family would be gathering and hanging out and, talking in the living room, kicking it. And I'm just I always been in my own zone. And my family knew, like, don't bother her. Leave her alone. Right? My sister used to joke, and she would say, like, she would be telling my cousins and my friends, just like, Danielle, she was not born really in this family. She was adopted. And I thought that was so funny because my dad, my biological father, actually raised my sister. And my sister grew without her biological father. But she would make the joke that I'm the adopted one because the way, like, my personality is. I was always to myself. And they knew, like, just leave, don't say nothing to her. Let her be in her space. And I loved it. Let her be in her room. I would, like, lock myself in my bedroom. Hours, days. This is just where I spent. And everybody else out in the living room, having fun, eating together, whatever. And I'll just be, like, in my own room, reading. My head would be in a book. So if you were to come in my room, knock on my door, most likely I will be reading. Right? And just in my own thoughts. And that's how I am now. You look at my father, he is 82 years old. He lives alone. He prefers to be alone. It's not that we can't be around people. We can and interact and have fun. I've dated guys. I've had friends. My house used to be the hangout spot, like, 'cause I'm a leader, right? So I've had those moments and those times and periods of my life. But for the most part, it's just, damn, leave me the hell alone. I remember, like, one of my first evaluations since I started at the hospital. My supervisor was giving a summary and kind of regurgitating what my other team members was saying about me, like their take on, how I'm kind of integrating in the team. And they're like, well, they say that, you are very effective at your job and what you do, but you just kind of like to work independently. Yeah, I can work amongst a team, but yes, I do. And even beyond that, like, yeah, I can't do this. I have to see how people do it. I cannot. I have to be alone by myself. And that's just point blank, period. And one may think, like, how in the hell does that fit in the context of living in a major city? I choose to live in Manhattan, New York, surrounded by people. But the irony is that even though it's so many people, everybody is, like, in their own zone, minding their own business. It works. Much different than the South, where I'm from, where everybody knows every fucking body. Everybody's in your business. There's no fucking privacy whatsoever. even though I'm surrounded by millions of people here in New York City, shit. And it's funny enough because even though, yes, I live in a city of once 8 million people, I think now the numbers have increased. Might be more than 8 million now, maybe 9 million or so. But it's like I came here, it was very attractive in the sense that I can kind of just be, I want to say a nobody because everybody is somebody, but, be in a place where I'm kind of inconspicuous. No one really knows me. But even with that, and of course I vlog, so then, some of my videos have gone viral and people know me, but I wouldn't think that many people in New York City would know me, but they do. I've encountered people walking down the street and they recognize me from my videos and will say like, oh, you a vlogger. I follow you. I'm like, oh my gosh. And I speak, of course, just being cordial, but I really have nothing to entertain. And people be offended by that because I just don't have energy to give you unless I feel like you are beneficial to my life, which majority of people really aren't necessarily. They may have little things to add here and there, right? Little tidbit pieces of advice, but I just don't feel like, for the most part, people have anything to add to my life. Unless you do, then okay. And I see people's reaction, like it bothers them that I'm kind of short with you and I just don't have much to give. That was something that when I was in my PhD program out in LA, I was taking a group therapy class, and the group therapy class pretty much was like modeled after being like in therapy, right? In a group therapy session. That's just how it was. We sat in a circle. And I remember like other group members kind of who were also pretty much coerced and led by the group leader, the professor, who just so happened to be from New York City. It came out in group that they want to make observation about me to say, oh, well, we noticed that, because then they had learned about my website and my vlog, and they're like, oh, we noticed that you're very vocal on your vlog, but you don't really, you don't kind of present the same way in the context of group. And I'm just like, not giving them anything. And I find it interesting when people, they're trying to pull you to an enactment. They want you to engage, but I'm not giving you nothing. But like I said in my previous video, for those who have seen my video on my dating adventures in LA, I talk about energy as a currency. And I'm very stingy with my energy. I don't talk to people. I don't give you my energy unless I want to. I was out last night. I went to one of my favorite restaurants called Lagos on 7th Avenue. It's a West African restaurant. And I'm just, enjoying myself eating. They had karaoke. I'm just enjoying the vibes. And a few men came up to me. Yeah, I won't say I shot them down, but I'm just not interested. Like, what do you have to enhance my life? My life is peaceful. And I saw a meme that said to this effect that, if you come across a person who is single and within their singlehood have established a degree of contentment and just self-acceptance and happiness and just freedom, peace above anything else. Peace, baby. It's the peace for me. Like, how can you, as a potential partner who's interested in this person, like, what can you bring? What is it that your world, within your world, right? And whatever baggage that you come with, like, what can you bring to make this person's life better, who already has like established and got pretty much everything that they need at their disposal? What will you add? You're talking about a person who would really prefers to be alone. Like, how can you be an addition to this person's life? that's going to be it's difficult to compete with that. That's what I'm saying. And so even the guys that came up to me, and this happens frequently. Guys come up to me, approach me, want to spit game, want to holler, want to be my friend, want to express interest. And sometimes even women too. And I'm just looking at them like really feeding their energy. And I'm just like, mm-mm. But I'll entertain a conversation in the moment. So I did. There was one guy, he was on a business trip from Turkey. He looked like he had some money. Most people that go to that restaurant, because it's an upscale restaurant, like they, I would say, are of higher social status, right? And I can tell that, he came from that, but he was trying so hard too. It was just like, he tried so hard that after we had a brief conversation, he wanted to see how we can like continue talking. He was like, I'm leaving from here and, I get your number. Can we continue the conversation? I said, oh, I'm not really, interested, but, hope you enjoy your time while you're in New York. He was like, okay. This dude left, yo. He was leaving out. And we upstairs, right? It's an upstairs, downstairs restaurant. We upstairs. After that, he walks away and started to head downstairs. Literally walked downstairs, came back up. Yeah, I guess he had like, hold on, let me try this shit again. Because I'm not taking no more answer. Came back up and still went for another shot at it, right? And I'm just like, no thank you, right? And he was like, okay, you have a good night. He looked at me as he walking away. You ain't got what it takes. First of all, dude short, beta male. Like, he got money. Okay, I give him that. But nah, I'm good. And then behind him, moments later, a black guy came up because he watching a whole interaction. And he's just like, yeah, we sitting over there. There's this black guy was with the group of black men, right? He's like a pack of five of them, right? And he's like, yeah, we over there and we see you, and you're very beautiful. And I want to come up and I want to, get to know more about you. And so he's telling me a little bit about him. I'm like, okay, what about you? What do you do? And he's like, I can't remember what the hell he said he do. So something about art. Yeah, he showed me like his little art studio. He says in the Bronx and blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, okay, thumbing through his phone, showing me the pictures. I'm not really enthused. I'm like, okay, right? Because like I say, for me, it's energy for me. You got to come with something stronger than that. And so then he's like, what are you doing? I told him I'm a psychologist, and he lit up, and he's just like, oh, okay. And I'm just like, whatever, right? And so he's like, yeah, I saw you talking to the white man. I said, yeah, but I'm not interested in him. Like, I guess he was trying to compare himself to the white man. Like, oh, you was talking to him, so I thought I'd give myself a shot. Nah, bruh. Not interested. Just not interested. And I asked him, I said, do you have kids? Shut the conversation down. I think he said he had one, and then, I don't know. But I don't even remember because I tune people out. Like, you have to really be talking about something, and, like, your energy got to be on a point for me to really respect you and what you have to say. Other than that, like, I can listen to a person, but I'm not even really feeling it like that. So yeah, I'm not interested. And he wasn't really that attractive. He was alright. Gave him he probably was like a 6.5, but nah. And even guys who are, attractive physically, and got the package, I still get ass a hard time too. That's just me. Cause I just feel like a lot of motherfuckers people be having their own issues, and I had a lot of experiences to know that even the most so-called well-intentioned people and people that seem they have it all put together, nah, you're not about to bring that shit and disrupt my level of peace over here. So yeah, I'm just gonna happen one day, and I feel like when is that day? It has to be soon. I think I'm just gonna step out on faith like I've done all the other times when I moved from Florida to Atlanta in 2011. 2014, I moved from Atlanta to New York. Stepped out on faith. Had never lived in New York. I had visited, but not with the intent of moving here necessarily. I just kind of moved here blindly in 2014 from Atlanta. And the same thing when I moved to LA from New York in 2016. And I'm like, okay, now it is 2024. And I definitely took a chance of leaving LA, coming back to New York in 2020. Just like, this shit gonna work. And so that's how, for me, I just step out on faith and things fall into place. So I gotta just figure out, where do I want to move to next. I feel like it's okay to switch it up. And granted, New York, I love New York. New York has given me a lot, and I appreciate that. But I'm just in a space where I just don't want to become complacent, and my life becomes mundane, doing the same thing and just fulfilling someone else's dream. There's more to life than that. So I'm definitely about to switch gears. And who knows? We shall see what the future holds. On that note, yeah, it's that time.